Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. My name is John Overy, the VP of Sales here at Royal Flush. In this episode, we talk about subcontracting, what that really means, what subcontracting is to us at Royal Flush when we do use a sub, when we don't use a sub, and specifically a story of how we came about with a customer and how she got upset about somebody misleading her about using a subcontractor on a project. I think it's a fascinating conversation. Have a listen. Me and Kyle cover it all. Stay tuned. What the hell is pipeline? 99% of people don't know what we do.
Pipelining is a way of making a repair to a sewer line or a drain pipe without having to dig it.
We're going to basically put a new pipe inside your old pipe, and what we do is really, really cool.
Ultraviolet light.
Without a doubt, is the coolest technology that we have.
Mark is the most knowledgeable pipeliner, certainly in New England, that I know.
So I always say, listen, I got the best team in the game, and it shows itself in situations like that. You got trailers loaded with every inch of equipment these guys could possibly need. Then you have that whole lining rig that's got everything. And you've got 4 to 5 guys that are going to show up there that are these technically trained guys that all are professionals at their job.
Very simple. We're going to be the biggest pipelining company in New England.
Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. This is probably the first time we have what I consider to be breaking news. I think this is newer developments that are going on in these 4 walls. You said you just talked to Mark about a situation that came up, and it has to do with subcontracting, all that nature. So explain to me the situation you kind of just touched on 5 minutes ago.
Okay, so we are looking at a project that we quoted a customer out over 2 years ago. So that was the first unique shock to me. It's the first time I've had somebody call me back referencing an estimate from 2 years ago and say, I think I want to move forward with this pipelining job you looked at. So what we told them, spent a long period of time, we obviously don't remember anything about the project, we have the estimate. We want to come out and make sure nothing has changed within your pipe. Estimate's probably going to increase a little bit over 2 years, time, materials, and that type of stuff. But we want to revisit it, check it out. So Mark went there today. Nothing's really changed. The biggest point that came out of the conversation is the lady told Mark that she had got a secondary quote from another contractor that dabbles in the pipelining business, we'll say. They were significantly higher. Good. We feel that we priced the job more than accordingly. We feel like we're going to make good money on it. It's nice to know somebody what we feel overcharged the project. But more importantly, Mark knew who it was and said, hey, did they tell you anything about their company, who's actually going to do this job? And she said, no. And so he informed them that we are 100% factually confident true. They sub out their pipelining work. They do not have a pipelining crew. They do not have a pipelining equipment. They do not do pipelining in-house. They sub it out to another company out of state. And when the lady heard this, she was perturbed at the least. She said, well, I'm going to hire you guys no matter what. But they did not tell me that, and I would not be comfortable under any circumstance hiring a company that not only she felt misled them, but is basically subbing out or bringing in another contractor that she's never met, never been to her house, and has never seen their pipe in person. Mark and I talked about it, and I said, Kyle, we got to talk about this on the podcast because there's a lot of misconceptions and predispositions on what the word subcontracting is and means. And I think there's good times and bad times, and there's good subs and bad subs. But for us at Royal Flush, specifically to pipelining, we do not sub out our work. So let's take it back, and I want to tell everybody what what subcontracting means to me, what the word sub means, and what are some of the really good parts about it, what I think are maybe some of the bad connotations and things like this scenario with that homeowner, unfortunately, give that word a bad name, and I think give a lot of contractors a bad name because you're instantaneously not trusting them, right? You're doing an act of distrust, not communicating. This is how we do business. So what a subcontractor is somebody who works beneath, underneath, or in addition to another contractor. So the traditional way this is done is with a general contractor. So there's a general contractor's license. Say I'm going to build your house. You come to me, Kyle, and you say, hey, John, you're a general contractor. I see that you've built houses in the past. You seem like a great guy. I want you to build me a house. Go, great, Kyle. We go through a budget and a plan and everything. We say, cool, we're all in agreement. And that was the general contractor. I am going to basically supervise the overseeing of the 1 to 1,000 steps that go inside with building a home. Within those steps, I might actually control or have some of my guys do some of the work. But a lot of those steps I'm going to sub out to an additional contractor who's going to work under me to do that. Because let's face it, nobody can be really great at everything, especially when it comes to building a house. Now, there's people who do build houses from the ground up, and they're really great at it. But in any sort of scale, very, very few people or companies have enough manpower or honestly enough knowledge and experience to be an amazing concrete foundation guy, to be an amazing framer, an amazing electrician, an amazing plumber, an amazing insulation guy, an amazing roofer, amazing window installer, an amazing door installer, an amazing drywall installer, trim, finish, right? Very rarely are you great at all those tasks. So the general contractor will go ahead and say, I'm going to oversee the project, and I'm going to bring in Kyle and his team, who I've worked with for 20 years, and they are great at digging and pouring foundations. That's your specialty. I'm going to bring in Steve, him and his team, and they're great at framing. These are the best framers I've ever worked with. I trust them. Kyle, you need to trust me. I'm going to bring in the right people to frame your house the right way, and so on and so forth. Jimmy to do the roof, Bob to do the windows, so on and so forth. That is a subcontractor model. Now, that works really great on large-scale projects. You're going to build a building like Royal Flush, a skyscraper, a big apartment complex. When you're dealing directly with a potential homeowner or directly with the customer for a specific task, that's where, in my mind, the subcontractor model doesn't really make a lot of sense. And if it does make sense, you better damn sure guarantee you are communicating to the customer that this is how you're doing the job. And that doesn't happen a lot, and that's what happened in this case for this lady. Now, we weren't speaking out of turn. We weren't trying to badmouth the other company. We're just making sure of a fact that we know. Like, hey, this is one of the things that set us apart from the competition. You know, it seems like you liked us. It seems like we gave you a very fair price. But also, when you hire us, you're going to get Royal Flush. We're going to show up with our branded trucks and our logo and a T-shirt, and the guys work for us. They've been trained by us. They are employees of Royal Flush. We're responsible for everything they do. If that other company was lower priced, or maybe she had a better feeling with them, the day that job showed up, people with a different van would have showed up to the front of the house, and she's probably like, who are these guys? I hired ABC. This is XYZ on the side. I never met these guys. Who are these guys? Oh, they're the guy, we subbed the job out. They're like, but how come you didn't tell me that? It's so backwards and backhanded. It's really, really deceiving. I think it's really deceiving a lot of times.
So, one question, and it doesn't really have as much to do with subcontracting as it does with the situation itself. Out of pure curiosity, obviously the 2-year window between estimate and agreement on a job. What's the longest they usually see?
That's the longest I've seen since I've been here.
Definitely. So, like, even on the longer end of a normal job, what's the timeline?
Most people are going to make a decision within 3 months. If something goes, you got to think. If you're looking for a new laptop, and maybe you're somebody that does a lot of research, and you want to check out every single website and every single store, and crunch all the numbers and get the best value of the deal. If you haven't, and you say you've done all those steps, you've went to Best Buy and Circuit City, which doesn't exist anymore, and you went to Amazon and 40 other websites and looked for buying, and you got 10 prices. So you've got all the information. With the analogy that you've had 10 contractors come out and look at the job and give you quotes. And after 3 months, you still haven't made a decision, you're probably not going to buy the laptop. Either you're not ready, either you maybe don't have the money, or maybe you don't see the value in what it is they're going to do, or maybe, in our case, the problem isn't enough pain point. I'm like, you know what? My laptop's actually still working. I'm going to milk this thing out as long as it can. But my opinion in life, and specifically to what we do, if you haven't made your decision in 3 months, you're going to continue to you've been living with the problem. However big or small, you're probably going to continue to live with it until something bigger happens and it forces you to do it. So it's 3 months. You've done your laptop research. It's January. Now it's April, 3.5, 4 months later. And it's May 15th, and you drop your laptop and it shatters.
Yeah,
You're going to buy a laptop that day.
You have no choice.
You're going to reactionary buy the laptop. You've done your research. Let me check If Best Buy's still offering that same deal, yep, buy the laptop. So I would tend to think, for this lady's case, something like that happened. Some switch was flipped, or something sparked her to be like, I got to do this now. She probably had another issue that creeped up, and she's like, okay, I no longer can let this happen or go as far as it can go.
And then you mentioned some jobs we do subcontract.
Yeah,
For certain situations.
absolutely.
What does that look like, coming from Royal Flush if we were to subcontract a certain part of a job?
Yeah. So every project is different. And again, we never subcontract our work, our specialty work, right? Pipelining. That will never be subcontracted. However, on a few projects, and I'll lay those out for you, there are other additional, say, trades or services or tasks that we don't deem to be worth our time, either worth our money, or maybe we just honestly don't want to get involved in. Or really more importantly, if we're looking at it from a big picture, we're not the expert in. So for instance, we work hand in hand with a local restoration company, Providence Fire Water Restoration, and they do an amazing job at cleaning up and what we call putting up containment. So these guys are imagine, they can help contain water damage, a flood, a fire. They can remediate all the mold. This is what they do. So in certain areas, maybe in a hospital or in just a high-profile area, so let's just say that you have a beautifully finished $500,000 basement renovation. The thing is gorgeous. And your pipe's right here, and we can fix it without causing a huge damage, but maybe this is your brand new movie room that you just put in. We're not going to want to take the chance to damage or cause any nasty stuff from getting on the new carpet or the walls or the big screen. So we'll say, you know what? We're going to go ahead and go and put plastic containment up with zip walls and really make this super clean so we don't cause any damage. The homeowner's going to be like, well, great. That's really important to me. I know that'll be an additional cost to the job, but yeah, I'm okay with maybe spending the $750 or the $1,000 or the $2,000 to protect the room because this room cost me $50,000 and I really don't want it destroyed. You guys are going to be dealing with poop. Anybody can put plastic up, but we're not professionals at doing containment. So what we'll do is we'll sub that portion out, or we'll hire PFR, Providence Fire Restoration, to set up the containment for us. And I will put that specifically in the bid. Containment. Set up and teamed worked with Providence Fire Restoration, who specializes in containment with plastic, to quarantine off and ensure the cleanliness of your movie room. Per our conversation on site, I know this is extremely important to you. Done. So now they know that Royal Flush is going to facilitate that. But if a couple guys show up, they're not in questioning it. Or even if they do, like, oh, what are these guys? Like, oh, remember the estimate I told you I'm working with PFR? These guys are in the restoration business. They specialize in putting the plastic in here. I mean, I'll probably put it on the wall and the duct tape will peel off your wall. But they're like, oh, yeah, okay, great. So that's how we facilitate a sub. For us, we have a mini excavator. We have to dig some holes. Any hole over a certain depth, we are not comfortable with or really equipped to dig a hole that's larger than 8 feet in depth. And that can depend on, sometimes if it's a smaller hole, depending on where it is. So we will sub out. We have a couple of excavation contractors that we work with. And we'll sub that out because those guys specialize in digging. They've got bigger equipment. They've got bigger trench boxes. They've got bigger dump trucks. They've got different fill. They got jackhammer bits. This is what these guys do. They are excavation contractors. And so we'll specifically put working with ABC contractor to dig the hole. And I will physically have that on the estimate, but I also will tell them over the phone initially or in the follow-up, hey, this hole's too big for us. I can't handle the digging. However, I have a guy that I know and trust that can. I'm going to bring him in this project, include it in my part of my bid. He's going to dig the hole for us. Okay, great. So complete clear transparency on who's doing what. Now, that customer's not paying that excavation contractor directly, they're paying us. But they know that we are bringing them in to help solve a problem on the job that's beyond our control. Anytime we get anything involved in flooring, so like on our floor right now is carpet tiles. We just had the office carpeted. We deal with a lot of things where there's VCT tiles, or what we call school tiles. You people might know, little square white tiles. Those are in a lot of closets, hallways, storage room, boiler room, if we have to dig an access pit. Guess what? We don't know how to replace those. We will specifically put, Royal Flush will not be responsible for replacing any flooring, carpet, or tiling. For us, that's something we don't want to get involved in subbing out. We know nothing about it. I wouldn't want to ever try and put it down. I'm not an expert in carpet, flooring, or tile. We're experts in lining pipes. So we'll put specifically, we'll concrete it smooth to grade, but the customer will be responsible for hiring their own flooring contractor to getting that floor back to your standards, right? So we're clearly communicating on what it is that we are doing, more importantly, what we aren't doing or what I'm not responsible for. You know, when we dig, when we dig a hole outside, I specifically put Royal Flush is not a landscaping company. We are not responsible for any damage done to the grass surrounding areas of the landscape, even though we're trying to get it as clean as possible back to the way it was. We will not be replanting any sod, grass seed, or mulch. That is the responsibility of whoever we're working for. Crystal clear, right? What we do, what we don't do. Who we're bringing in, who we're not bringing in. Are we doing everything ourselves? Most of the time we are. But if we aren't, that's specifically listed. And so too many times, and I don't know why that company didn't just flat out say, like, I don't actually do pipelining, but I have a great relationship with another company that does, and I can facilitate it for you.
Yeah.
If I said that to you, Kyle, you'd probably be like, okay. Right? Now, maybe if you had a prior experience with a sub that went bad, maybe you would be like, I'm not really comfortable with that. But if I positioned it just this way, I'm at your house, you called me at Royal Flush, and we're having a big issue for a pipe under the ground. And I say to you, I know the fix, but we actually don't do that in-house. I can help facilitate this for you. You can go through me, and I'm confident we can get this problem solved for you. What would you say?
I'd say, John, you're a damn good salesman. I'm in. That's what I would say.
And what I just did in a very strategic way is tell you that I'm going to sub the job out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what people do, though.
Yeah, and you're still being transparent.
Exactly.
This isn't what we do.
I don't do that, but I can help facilitate it with you.
Exactly.
If that company was transparent with this lady, take price out of it, there's a good chance maybe they would have done the job. There's too many people who are, I don't know, trying to pull the wool over people's eyes or just not, maybe they just don't have the skill to communicate it. They don't want to communicate it. They don't feel they should have to. And it was an interesting scenario that came up today. And I was like, we need to talk more about this.
Yeah.
And the sub model. And again, the sub model works great a lot of times. There's a lot of time where it's the complete appropriate right thing to do. There's a lot of times it's not. And one way we think we can separate ourselves is anytime you can build a relationship or talk directly to the decision maker. You know how many times I've said, we want to be in control. I want to talk to the person making the decisions, in this case, the person who owned the home. And if you and I can build a rapport and trust, I looked at it. My team's going to do it. We're going to be there. It's Royal Flush. Our guys wear Royal Flush. We have Royal Flush hats. We have Royal Flush sweatshirts. You are dealing with Royal Flush. There's nobody else in between here. All the good that's going to happen, which I'm confident is all the time, is going to be for us. And guess what? If anything doesn't good happen, we're going to be the ones to help you fix it and deal with it too. There is no issues. I think that sets us apart. I know it sets us apart.
Yeah, no, I agree. And definitely practicing what you're preaching here, because I've heard dozens of times you answer a phone and say, hey, full transparency, we don't do traditional plumbing, drain cleaning, and almost word for word, we have a good relationship with another company, XYZ, and you dish the work off to them. You could easily say, oh, yeah, we'll be at your house
100%.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Tell XYZ company, oh, yeah, this place needs a drain cleaner, and just kind of play it off as if Royal Flush did it.
That's a perfect thing, because we work hand in hand with Paul Anderson Drain Cleaning, who we think are the best drain cleaners in the state. And you're right. I could tell people, yep, we'll get somebody out there, or I can get my guys out there, or I got a guy that could do it, and not really tell them and have the customer bill me and upcharge, but that's not worth my time. Yeah. It's not worth our time. It's not the best thing for us. It's not the best thing for the other company. It doesn't make sense. Like, hey, these guys are great at what they do. Call them directly. If there's something bigger there for us, we can get involved. We can work with them. But, call Paul Anderson. Those guys are amazing at what they do. I don't want to be involved in things that I don't do. If for some reason this company who doesn't feel the need, want, or doesn't want to invest in pipelining, which is cool, why are they subbing out jobs that they're not going to do? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Just, if you want to be a pipeliner, be a pipeliner.
You're not
I will
wrong.
gladly take the competition. I'm not afraid of it, by no means. But don't tell people that you were going to line your pipe and then you have another company show up and do it. It's weird. It's very, very strange. So, in that scenario, I am vehemently against subcontractors.
Yeah.
In a scenario where we're building your house or somebody's being completely honest and transparent and you as the end user are like, okay, that's cool with me, man. I trust you. I built the rapport with you. I think you're going to help guide me through the fix. Hey, more power to you. Fantastic. Absolutely great. Money to be made everywhere for everybody. So those are the two sides of the subcontracting world that sometimes just get a little gray and muddy.
Definitely. Well, any parting words? I think that was a very good kind of overview of the situation and how we deal with subcontracting. And
I just think if you're hiring anybody, just ask them, are you going to do the work yourselves? And if they're not, that's okay. That doesn't mean they're not a good contractor. That doesn't mean they can't be the ones to help you fix it. But I know I would want to, if they're going to sub it out, cool, man. But I would want to like, hey, are you and your guys working here? Do you, in essence, own those people? Do they work for your company? And that might just help you feel a little more comfortable to help you make a decision. Or maybe sometimes really, when we're, because the first thing we do, Cal, is what? We compare the price. The first thing we do is compare the price. It's just, unfortunately, no matter how much money you have, you're going to go to the price first. And maybe the difference in price is due to somebody subcontracting or somebody not. Maybe that's the price difference. That could be thousands, or that could be hundreds. And if you just dug into it, and maybe if you knew a little bit more, well, that person is higher because they are subbing it out, but I trusted the guy. I felt he could do it. Or maybe this person's low because maybe that can help you be part of the decision-making process. Sometimes we just skip over it and don't realize it. I'm like, oh, they're cheaper. Or in this case, they're more.
yeah,
I don't really want to go with them. So just ask people. Just ask lots of questions. Make sure you're comfortable with it. And if you are comfortable with them, sub, great. If you're not, then you would at least deserve the right to know. Because if that lady went with the other company, she would have been upset. Because when Mark told her this company said that, she was like, really? Because she maybe she had a bad experience. I don't know. But she's like, I don't want somebody I've never talked to or a company that I don't know to come up, show up and do my work.
yeah.
So
Transparency and honesty go a long way.
that's for sure.
So, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more episodes like this on the Royal Flush Podcast.